Guys, I just watched a brand new film in the year 2020, and now I get to review it. Life is good, and not just any film. I got to watch a Spike Lee joint, and I will kill the suspense right now and tell you, I really liked it. Yes, indeed, Mr. Lee just continued to impress me as an artist and as a human. Something in particular, though, that I was thinking about while watching Da 5 Bloods was just the overall effect of his decision to so intentionally infuse himself into every single one of his films. And by that I mean, when you are watching a Spike Lee joint, you know that you're watching a Spike Lee joint. The soundtrack will sound a particular way. You will more than likely have a character talking directly to camera. At some point in the film, you might see some newsreel footage or some still photographs interspliced with the body of the film, etc. But the great thing about this is, well, I would argue, rather than this feeling distracting or being some sort of egotistical way of Mr. Lee tooting his horn and saying, "Hey guys, by the way, I was the one that made this. Isn't this so cool?" It actually ends up adding a great deal to the film. Well, there are indeed a lot of filmmakers out there, a lot of very accomplished, famous filmmakers out there that would say that they, with every single one of the films that they work on, do their very best to get out of the way of that film, allowing the story itself to dictate the style and the tone. I would say that that's probably not what Spike Lee would say about his approach to filmmaking. And this feeling was so very pronounced on Da 5 Bloods, and I'm actually not sure that this is actually the case, but it was so pronounced it actually felt like someone else had done the first few drafts of the script, at which point Spike Lee came along and took it over, laying onto it his own worldview, style, approach, and narrative choices. And again, I really do feel the need to reiterate, this certainly could and certainly has been a recipe for disaster on a lot of other films, but with Da 5 Bloods, it actually only added to its overall power and effectiveness. You see, I'm pretty certain that Spike Lee didn't just want this film to stand on its own, though it certainly did do that swimmingly. No, I really do think that he also wanted it to carry with it all of his filmography and the just collective ideas expressed in it. He wanted it to carry that weight and just the surprisingly cohesive ideas that he's continued to explore film to film. And he wanted us thinking about those things while we were watching this film. He wanted that past to inform this present. He wanted us thinking about and stewing on what he'd already said with Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, He Got Game, Chirac, Black Klansman, etc. Like I already mentioned, though, those creative decisions which tied Da 5 Bloods to his past films also felt so appropriate to this film. So even while the style of camera work, the music, and the editing may have been used by Spike Lee over and over again on his past films, they still felt utterly invested in and just so intentionally and purposefully utilized on this film. They never once felt lazy or like they were just used because they were the easy option because they'd worked on previous films in the past. No, they always felt necessary to this film and vital to the story that it was telling. Something else that I really like about Spike's larger-than-life, dare I say, theatrical style of filmmaking is that when he wants a moment to really just punch us in the gut, to feel grounded and relatable and real, all he needs to do is just ever so slightly ease back on that style. And suddenly, what we're watching feels like it's happening in real life right there in front of us. There were a number of instances in Da 5 Bloods where I was just enjoying the cinematic ride, laughing at the jokes, marveling at the over-the-top action, feeling safe and comfortable in this big story with these big characters. And then suddenly, he would rip the carpet up from beneath me and something very real and very raw and very personal occurred, and every time it just gutted me in the exact way that it needed to. Speaking of real and raw, gosh, I just love what Spike Lee is able to always get out of his actors. On every single one of his films, there is always felt in their performances such just gusto and vivaciousness, to use a $5 word. On this film in particular, Delroy Lindo was awesome. Initially coming off as nothing more than this jaded, hardened war vet, he, throughout the film, so precisely revealed more and more of his character until, by the end, I couldn't help but just love the guy, warts and all. And really, all around, the performances were just top-notch, working beautifully on their own as well as in the ensemble. I'm certain that some viewers will find that this film possessed just a few too many narrative conveniences, so to speak, certain discoveries being made just a little bit too easy for their taste. But for me personally, not only was this not a problem, it actually added in a positive way to the film, really focusing and clarifying what it was all about and the story that it was trying to tell. This film was really about the internal struggle of the characters, not the external. What was happening on the inside. That was the true conflict, the one that took the real effort to work through and overcome. With that said, the more external conflicts were also pretty great. Now, let me speak clearly to those of you out there looking for a wall-to-wall action flick with a more traditional ratio of action sequences to dramatic dialogue scenes. The Five Bloods does indeed have a fair number more of those dramatic dialogue scenes, but with that said, that's not to say that it didn't also possess a handful of very fun, very exciting shootouts and the like. When it was all said and done, though, it wasn't as if this film wasn't without any air at all. Its narrative, for example, felt just a tad unwieldy at times, introducing a few too many plot threads and characters than it could satisfyingly service in its already lengthy runtime. Even so, I really did enjoy this film a lot, and I would highly recommend it to all of you. Not only is it entertaining and fun, it's also confronting and challenging in all the ways that it ought to be, especially in the season that we find ourselves in right now. And for all these reasons, I will give the film a 4 out of 5 and a heart. I would still love to know what you guys thought of the film, though, so definitely comment below and let me know. And are there any other films right now, hopefully newer films that are streaming, that you would recommend I check out and review? Definitely comment below and let me know. Finally, please do subscribe. I'm going to continue to review films and television on this channel, and I would love for you to stay up to date on all of those things. But for now, I'm Chris Hartwell. This is The Heartbeat. Thank you for joining me.